Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASIS strike.
You have done your work and put us to the wall. We are not your slaves.
I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report. I have not seen the report.
Good morning and welcome to Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. It's a global morning on Global Television. My name is Anthony Momodu. Welcome to today's edition. Today is the 6th day of June 2024, and it's Happy Russian Language Day. Welcome to. I wish I could speak some little bit of Russian language, but obviously we're celebrating the Russian Language Day in as much as the world not completely happy with the father Vladimir Putin, who has just gotten his sixth term in office, is still hell-bent on the invasion of Ukraine, causing the death of many thousands of women and children. All right, we hope somewhere along the line, logic and reasoning and human kindness will prevail, and the war in Ukraine would come to a close or to an end. All right, we've got a lot of goodies in store for you, giving you updates as regards things happening across the globe and also on the national level, where we'll be taking you across the 36 states of the Federation, give you highlights of what's panning out from the government to its citizen, and from the citizenry to the government, vice versa, and also highlighting policies and decisions of government which affect the well-being of its citizens, and also the inter-relationship between Nigeria and other countries in the continent and across the globe. We'll also be giving you some sporting stories making the rounds as the Super Eagles of Nigeria get set for the big cracker. It's barely 24 hours before our darling Super Eagles would face the Bafana of South Africa in the 2026 World Cup qualifier in Uyo, specifically the Nest of Champions, where we expect and hope that the Super Eagles will be able to get one over the South Africans, so that we can, as a matter of fact, get back on track to qualify for the World Cup in 2026. Already we know that the 8 Super Eagles players that were stranded in Lagos and Abuja respectively have finally joined the team after the NLC did call off their strike action. So, all right, so that's some of the things panning out, but to give you more updates as regards issues, stories making the rounds. We'll also be having Taste and Texas somewhere along the line. We're giving you business stories and also entertainment there. Then, of course, our talking point, we'll be looking at the issue of the strike action, day 2 of the suspended strike action. Already we know that the biggest talking point is the fact that the federal government and the organized labor are considering 100,000 naira as the benchmark for the new national minimum wage. So let's see, in the coming days, already the federal government had given the finance minister Wale Edun the marching order to, as a matter of urgency, work out the cost implications for the new minimum wage. So we're looking at it with so much hope and expectations by the Nigerian workers, the organized labor, and all facets of our national life, as the one-day strike did really affect the Nigerians across board. So let's just give you some tips as regards some update of stories making the rounds across the 36 states of the Federation. We'll begin from Kaduna, where the State House of Assembly has tendered its report as regards the former governor of the state, Nasiru El-Rufai, who, according to statements coming out, says the Kaduna State governor and the former Kaduna State governor, Nasiru El-Rufai, and his aides have blew as much as 423 billion naira and they've been told, the House of Assembly has said, because of this, they are recommending that they should be prosecuted. So we'll be looking at the implication of that, and also the illegal, unauthorized withdrawal of monies in dollar and naira, currency. So we'll be looking at the implication. Will the current government of Kaduna State, Uba Sani, have the political will and strength to be able to prosecute the XY governor to the latter? Is what we'll be looking at. Already we saw in the U.S., which is a model for our democracy, a former president be convicted. So can a former governor be convicted in Nigeria? That is a tall order. We'll be looking at the judiciary and the anti-graft agency, EFCC, to see if they can deliver the goods. All right, let's take you to the NDIC. We're talking about the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation. NDIC has said plans are already on the way to, as a matter of urgency, to pay 2.3 million depositors of the Heritage Bank, which was recently wind up, or their license being revoked by the Central Bank of Nigeria. So we're looking at that keenly, how that will be done, because approximately 650 billion naira is what is being stuck in the Heritage Bank, and that's what the NDIC will be paying back to customers, as much as 2.3 million customers of the Heritage Bank. So that's one of the talking points playing out right here in Nigeria. All right, we'll also be giving some other stories, but some good news for the FCT minister, who has been in the news for different reasons, one of them being his back and forth, his row with Sim Fubara, the executive governor of Rivers State, as regards the running of affairs of Rivers State. But currently, the president, talking about Bola Tinubu, has said that the best decision he has made since his assumption of office is the appointment of Nyesom Wike. So that's kudos to the FCT minister. All right, let's take a very quick break and pay some slight bills. When we return from the break, we'll give you more details as regards things playing out on the global scene and definitely in Nigeria. Stay with us. Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria, come join Anthony Mamadou on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan because
that this country gets it right.
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
Welcome back. That time my producer saying action. It's time for us to get back into the groove. We must say big kudos to our producer this morning, Samson, who's doing a yeoman's job, making sure we're coming out live to you and being part of your lives the 6th day of June 2024. Just to give a quick insight to the producer, he's a footballer turned technical expert. So it tells you he's got so much skills. All right, while you were trying to get all set and mic'd up and putting the last stories together, I was just looking at the 423 billion naira expended by a former state governor, Nasir El-Rufai, and his aides. The problem is that they said all this 423 billion naira were withdrawn in dollars and naira without authorization. And so, but do you think Uba Sani, because I know you're aware of Kaduna, one of your home states.
Yeah, that's one of my home states.
So, do you think they have the political will to prosecute Nasir El-Rufai, looking at his status in Nigeria, but also looking in comparison to what was done in the U.S. with Donald Trump? That's why being ex-president, that's why his loud mouth and all that was still taken through the process and found even guilty.
The truth is, Anthony, first of all, good morning to each and every one of us. Good morning, Anthony Momodu.
Yeah, good morning.
The thing is, no one is above the law. We should have that at the back of our mind. It doesn't matter even if you were a one-time elite or you held a particular position.
Yeah.
No one is above the wrath of the law.
True.
So the thing is, if you are found wanting, you will be acquitted the way it ought to be. You
acquitted or persecuted?
Persecuted the way it ought to be. Now the thing is, if you say Uba Sani, and because of the hierarchy in which El-Rufai is
falls into
exactly, but the truth is, no one is above the law. If it's found guilty, he will be persecuted. As you've seen, a lot of course, we've not following up. We just see how so many dignitaries in office are called out and all that, and at the long run, everything just dies down. Nothing happens. But at least he will be called out, and he will be, if he is found guilty, he will be persecuted at a point.
All right, the president says one of his best decisions is not removal of subsidy, but the appointment of Nelson Wike as the FCT minister. Some person said last week that it looks like the FCT minister has the president in his pocket. And the president said something that is a little bit worrisome. He says, Wike's leadership qualities cannot be put aside. Does that give us a clue to Wike becoming president? Some say he's like a dictator. He has too much Niger Delta blood in in his management style.
Well,
I know you're a fan of his.
I didn't say that. I'm always on the fence. As a broadcaster, must always be on the fence.
The fence is going to fall off. There are too many broadcasters on the
fence is not falling off. But the thing is, of course, you know, he is a dictator. He's a man of his word. I have watched him. I have.
He's a bully. I feel he's a bully.
He is not.
I feel he's a bully.
But the thing is, he wants the job done. You cannot take that away from him. Remember the bounty that was laid out? He was the first FCT minister that came out and let me finish about Nelson Wike. He came out and he says there's
he made his name sound so nice.
The FCT minister. But the truth is, he gets the job done. You cannot take that away from him.
No, I ain't taking it away. He pushes you to
exactly
to execute the
he's
job.
a say and action kind of person. You cannot take that away from the FCT minister. Yes, I think he has proven himself beyond reasonable doubt. And the thing is, he might have his weaknesses. Of course, we know the tussle between him and Fubara. We know, of course, the rivers and all of that. But for FCT, of course, you know, he's doing a lot.
All right. Okay, but this is me playing the devil's advocate. When the president says you cannot take away his leadership qualities, is that suggestion to say, this man, let's begin look at him as someone who's going to take over the reign from me?
I do not know. That context could mean a lot of things.
But do you think Nigerians would want to give him a shot?
FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, for me, I feel, this is my own opinion, not global television.
Definitely.
I feel he will take us to the next level. I think he will do an amazing job.
They say a Trump kind of person.
I think he's a Trump kind of person. But the thing is, for me, he will get the job done. At least we will not be disappointed if he is the next president. Who knows?
All right, this is us just pushing the cart. Is it the cart before the horse before the cart? Either way, you know best what I'm trying to. All right, so let's just make sure, because let's ensure you have something to fill your tummy, since the lady of the kitchen is around. Let's see, because she's been making some concussions and aroma filling my nose, nostrils.
All right, of
What
course.
have we got in store? For a change, tell us that we know what cutlery we're carrying.
No, that's why it's taste and texture, to keep your taste bud wanting and craving and
so
wondering.
So do I know I'm using a spoon this morning, like for akamu or couscous, or
You just have to find out. All right, up next is the segment Taste and Texture, to keep your taste bud wanting for more with Fatime. Don't go anywhere, stick around.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okere tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
I'm delighted to have you here with me on Taste and Texture. I'm Fatime Abomar. Today we'll be making a new twisted kind of northern dish, brabisco, but this time with gari. This meal is quick and easy to prepare. The primary ingredients for making this food is couscous. Couscous is also known as brabisco in some northern part of Nigeria and is made from corn or wheat grits. Nevertheless, in preparing this meal, couscous is sometimes substituted with gari. When gari is used in preparing this food, lukewarm water is added to it. The gari is then stirred with a fork so it doesn't form a solid mold. The small disjointed lumps of the gari are what is required in preparing brabisco. The ingredients needed for this brabisco dish are 1 cup of gari, 1 cup of chopped vegetables, green pepper, a handful of chopped onions, 1 cup of shredded chicken, 1 tablespoon of butter, 2 cooking spoons of groundnut oil, seasoning cubes, 2 cloves of garlic, 1 tablespoon of grated ginger, 1 teaspoon of chili pepper, and now let's make it. Wash and season the shredded chicken with garlic, ginger, and seasoning cube. In a pan, heat up the butter and groundnut oil and stir in the shredded chicken. Sprinkle the chili pepper and taste for seasoning and add more as needed. Once the chicken has browned and is cooked, add the vegetables and stir in. In a separate bowl, add some tepid water to the gari and stir with a fork so it doesn't form a solid mold. Pour in your chicken and vegetables into the bowl of gari and stir it properly combined. Serve and enjoy. That's all for today. See you same time next time for another scrumptious episode of Text and Texture.
All right, that's behind the scene commentaries going on there. All right, that's breakfast. I think right now, the way I feel, I'm so hungry. I think I'd rather eat what we call in Nigeria akpu and goose soup. So it will hold the stomach.
I wish the viewer out there saw how your mouth went to akpu. Of course, it's a raining Thursday. We talk about pap and kose. Yeah.
Kosh and dosh.
Kosh and dosh. Yeah. That's why. But the truth is, when you have your kose and akamu, which is pap, or you have your moimoi and pap, you are good to go in a rainy weather like this.
What of dodo and
dodo?
Yeah.
Dodo. Is it plantain you're trying to put?
No, but that's the Yoruba name, right? Dodo. Why dodo?
Because it's delicious. Because it's dodo is dodo.
Okay, it sounded like dough. Like in Delta, dough means sorry.
Yeah, you see, that's why God is so great. What means something in your language means another in another person's. God is great.
But you know, this is just us celebrating today's World Russian Language Day.
Oh wow!
So in Russia, can you speak Russian?
No, I can't.
I don't know if Sebastian could tell us a word in Russian language.
You want to put Sebastian on the spot. He's a cameraman, a professional cameraman.
Yeah, they always put people on the spot this time
oh,
too.
Exactly. So it's the other way around now. I don't think
that's another very funny issue. Why do people get scared of the camera? Especially when you go out to the interviews. No. But I think it's usually government officials because their ways are not straight. They're always scared.
No, I don't think so. I think people just have a phobia. People have different ways in taking in things. Like this is what we do. This is our means of livelihood. We're used to it. We've had. At the beginning, it wasn't like this, but with time, you tend to grow on the job.
Sure. I think there's something about if you go to a new whole studio, the butterflies still coming until you now talk to the mic, talk to the studio, they accept you. I think there's just something spiritual about everything.
Yeah,
all right, that's just us trying to celebrate the World Russian Day, which is on the 6th of June 2024. And this year is going to be a special 24th of June 2024. That's a nice one. All right, let's see if we can give you some sporty stories. As we just said, the Super Eagles of Nigeria are still preparing. Tomorrow is the main cracker. Nigeria taking up Bafana. We must go out there in Uyo to support the Super Eagles so that we can qualify for the World Cup. So we know that most Super Eagles players have joined the camp in Uyo as they get set for the big game tomorrow. I don't know if we'll be able to be there live in Uyo, but definitely we'll be giving you live update as regards that match with the Bafana of South Africa. So let's get some sporting stories about things happening in the world of sport on the global scene. When we come back, we'll be getting ready for the Global AM News so that you get well informed as regards the big stories making the rounds. Stay with us. Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Sports News Update. Former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua has sent a chilling warning to potential next opponent Daniel Dubois, as both fighters are in talks for a Wembley showdown. Dubois won the interim IBF heavyweight title last weekend in a stunning 8-round KO victory over the previously undefeated Filip Hrgović in Saudi Arabia. Sun Sports reports that Joshua and Dubois are now in talks over a huge domestic dust-up at Wembley on either September 20th or 21st. Joshua, 34, was ringside for the biggest victory of Dubois' career, but has warned him he will suffer another setback in his world title hopes when they throw down. Bruno Fernandes is reportedly pushing for a contract that would make him one of Manchester United's top earners alongside 3 teammates. The Portuguese midfielder was a rare positive for the Reds as they endured a woeful season under Erik ten Hag. The 29-year-old scored 14 goals across all competitions as United ended the campaign with a FA Cup triumph after beating Manchester City in the final. Fernandes has 2 years remaining on his contract at Old Trafford with the option of a further year and has been linked with a move to Bayern Munich in recent weeks. He signed a new 4-year deal in 2022, which sees him currently earn around £240,000 a week. Manchester City have declared war on the Premier League, suing the competition over new financial rules in an unprecedented move that has sent shockwaves through football and split some of the game's most powerful club. Outraged bosses at the Etihad Stadium have filed a 165-page legal document claiming they are the victims of discrimination and that regulations approved by rivals they feel are aimed at curtailing their success are the tyranny of the majority. A 2-week private hearing starts Monday, and its verdict could have wide-ranging ramifications on the 115 charges aimed at the Premier League at the City for alleged breaches of its rules on accounting. And that's how we call it a wrap on the Sports News Update. I am Anthony Momodu.
Busy road, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first. In an ever-busy road, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. We are live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anthony Momodu. Stakeholders on environment have stressed the need to address land degradation, desertification, and create massive awareness on other environmental issues. Sharon Ajayi reports that the stakeholders made the plea in commemoration of the 2024 Environment Day in Abuja. Oh, thank God. Because that didn't flow well.
It's time for sports' biggest moments on global television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momodu. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are definitely. Because
that this country gets it right.
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex. Are you a food lover? Do you care about your health and nutrition? Are you interested in exploring the diverse culinary traditions from around the world? Then look no further. Introducing Lunch Global on Global Television, a show that takes you on a delicious journey through the world of food, nutrition, and diet. So, whether you're a seasoned foodie, a health enthusiast, or simply curious about the world of food, Lunch Global has something for everyone. Tune in Mondays to Fridays and let your taste bud take you on a journey of flavor, culture, and discovery on Lunch Global. Bon appetit!
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are definitely. Because
that this country gets it.
Welcome back from that break due to some hitch, and really sorry for the hitches. And now let's get back to the news where stakeholders on environment have stressed the need to address land degradation, desertification, and create massive awareness on other environmental issues. Sharon Ajay reports that the stakeholders made the plea in commemoration of the 2024 World Environment Day in Abuja.
The World Environment Day is a day dedicated in fostering global awareness, action and protection of the environment. Minister of Environment Balarabe Lawal calls for the need to improve the law governing environmental issues to protect the environment. He highlighted the challenges that have been affecting the nation's environment, to include deforestation, unsustainable land management, and adverse impact of climate change. The minister added that all these challenges are not only threatening the health, well-being of the people, but also jeopardize the ecological system and capacity of the nation.
We are going to try to see that we improve on the laws that protect our environment. Currently, the laws are not very strict, and you find that environmental cases are not being treated the way they should be treated. So we're working hard, and I believe very soon with the Attorney General of the Federation to come out with laws that are very strict in protecting our environment.
Chairman Senate Committee on Environment, Senator Yunus Akintunde, calls for the need to combat environmental challenges, stating that the purpose of the environment is to preserve our past heritage, to protect today's interests, and care for tomorrow's hope.
That the essence of the celebration is to remind us that the purpose of the environment is to preserve our yesterday's heritage, to protect today's interest, and care for tomorrow's hope, not more than that.
The World Environmental Day is aimed at supporting environmental sustainability and continuous monitoring of tree planting at all locations to restore degraded lands. Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.
The Nigerian Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress have asked the federal government to address the recent electricity tariff hike. President of the NLC, Joe Ajero, said what the organized labor has done is to relax the strike action for 1 week. In a communique issued after a joint National Executive Council meeting of the unions, they said the demand of the reversal of electricity tariff hike back to 66 naira per kilowatt hour was part of the discussion, noting that they are deliberated on the demand for the stoppage of the classification of electricity consumers into bands. Kaduna State House of Assembly has recommended that the immediate past governor of the state, Nasiru El-Rufai, be prosecuted for alleged abuse of office and money laundering in his administration. This followed the investigation of the ad hoc committee set up by the House led by Henry Zakaria. According to the report submitted by Zakaria, most of the loans obtained under the El-Rufai's administration were not used for their intended purpose, and in some cases, due process was not followed in securing the loans. The House of Representatives has expressed its support for the legal action taken by the federal government against the 36 states of the Federation to enforce the autonomy of local governments. This was the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees declared its readiness to aggressively mobilize local government branches to troop out en masse to loudly support the federal government in the push for local government autonomy. The federal government has approached the Supreme Court with a suit seeking to compel governors of the 36 states of the Federation to grant full autonomy to the local governments in their domains. The House of Representatives has again called on President Bola Tinubu-led government to announce a living wage for the Nigerian workers to address incessant cases of industrial actions by organized labor. The House resolution followed an adoption of the motion of urgent public importance moved by the member representing Balanga Beliri Federal Constituency, Gombe State, Isa Ali. Leading the debate on the floor of the Green Chamber joint plenary, Ali noted that the federal government and labor unions have been locked in negotiations over an upward review of the minimum wage, regretting, however, that meetings so far failed to yield positive outcomes. Tensions ran high as the bill to ban open grazing successfully passed its second reading in the Nigerian Senate on Wednesday. The legislative session was marked by heated debates and strong emotions, reflecting the contentious nature of the proposed law. If enacted, this bill will finally prohibit open grazing nationwide, aiming to resolve long-standing conflicts between herders and farmers. Minister of Defense Mohammed Abubakar has assured officers and men of the armed forces of President Bola Tinubu's administration's commitment to equipping and training them to enhance combat readiness against insurgency and terrorism. A statement from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation says the minister stated this when he visited the military operation theater in Katsina, where he addressed Operation Hadin Daji at the 213 Forward Operating Base in Katsina and acknowledged President Tinubu's significant successes in the fight against insurgency and related crimes. Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Southwest, Biodun Alabi, has urged police officers in the discharge of their duties to always accord members of the public of the dignity and also respect human rights. Alabi made this known while addressing officers at the Ogun State Command of the Nigerian Police Force in Ilerewan, Abeokuta, Ogun State. During his one-day working visit to the state, the police DIG warned that the authorities would deal decisively with any officer found trampling on the rights of people. The Police Service Commission has announced the approval and release of a list of 10,000 successful applicants for recruitment into the Constable and Specialist cadre of the Nigerian Police Force. The Commission noted that to ensure fairness and justice in the recruitment process, it worked with relevant stakeholders, including the Nigerian Police Force, the National Assembly, and the Federal Character Commission. It stated that it ensured equity in the spread of successful candidates across the 774 local government areas of the country. Former President Goodluck Jonathan has expressed displeasure over the high rate of electoral litigation in the country. The former president stated this during the inauguration of Delta State High Court Complex in Asaba, Delta State capital, where he called on an improvement in the judicial and electoral standards to address the increasing number of lawsuits by politicians who intend to manipulate the process after losing elections in the country. Civil Society Groups for Good Governance Coalition has called on President Bola Tinubu to sign the National Commission for Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons bill into law to enhance national security. The coalition's president, Ogaku Dominic, made the call in Abuja amidst growing concerns about the national security and proliferation of illegal firearms. He highlighted the devastating consequences of uncontrolled weapons proliferation, which fuels violence, insecurity, and economic instability. You're watching Global AM News, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times Channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When AM News returns, Portugal toughens migration rules ahead of upcoming EU elections. These and other stories coming right after this break. Do stay with us.
It's
Time for sports' biggest moments on global television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momodu. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out. For an
Welcome back from the break. This is Global Television bringing you live broadcasts of AM News. Thank you for staying with us. On the foreign scene, President Bola Tinubu has congratulated Claudia Sheinbaum on her historic election victory as the first female president of Mexico. A statement by presidential spokesman Ajurin Gelale says President Tinubu stated that the election of President Sheinbaum affirms the voices of women in government and that sends a reverberating message across the world that women must not only be participants but principal architects in shaping and implementing decisions affecting the lives of many. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has tendered his resignation to the country's president, Draupadi Murmu, after his cabinet recommended the dissolution of the lower house of parliament, Lok Sabha. Murmu accepted the resignation of Modi and the Council of Ministers, requesting Modi to act as the Prime Minister till the new government is formed. Modi's resignation was part of the protocol followed before the formation of the next government in the country. Portugal's new government has tightened its migration policy, repealing a key law under the former socialist administration that had promoted people moving to the country for work. With one of Europe's most open immigration systems, Portugal has seen its foreign-born population double in 5 years, partially due to South Asians who have come to work in farming, fishing, and restaurants. However, Prime Minister Luis Montenegro said his government wanted to put an end to excessive abuse of its welcome for immigrants, calling the changes a new cycle. In business, following the recent withdrawal of Heritage Bank's operating license, the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, says it will begin payment of an insured sum of 2.3 million depositors of the bank in liquidation this week. Managing Director of the corporation, Bello Hassan, made this known while briefing newsmen in Abuja. Kike Lomo Okere has details.
The Managing Director, Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, Bello Hassan, says the bank had preliminary deposits of 650 billion naira and loan worth 700 billion naira. According to him, 99.9% of depositors of the defunct bank have a deposit balance of less than 5 million naira, while only 4,000 of the depositors have more than 5 million naira deposit. He says those who have balance of 5 million naira or less will receive their full insured deposit promptly. This move is set to gain the confidence of the customers in the financial sector.
So for the depositors that have alternate bank account within the system, they don't need to visit any branch of the bank. We are aware of their details and we pay them the maximum insured amount depending on their we pay them the insured amount up to a maximum limit of 5 billion. But for customers that have only account with Heritage Bank, then they need to visit the nearest branch so that they can be identified and verified by our staff that are on ground.
Hassan further clarifies that these depositors will receive further payments as NDIC progresses with recovering the bank's assets and outstanding loans. It says to manage the payment process, NDIC has deployed 400 staff members across the bank, 116 branches and regional offices.
116 branches and regional offices, and we have deployed close to 400 staff of NDIC to all these locations so that they can take charge of the assets and records of the bank. We have made press release on Monday, and yesterday also we did advertorial in major newspapers to brief the banking public of what we are doing concerning the liquidation of the bank.
NDIC boss further advised the depositors with alternate bank accounts not to visit a bank branch, adding that the NDIC will use their bank verification number, BVN, to credit these accounts directly. Kike Lomo Okere, Global Television News.
Nigeria has lost about 148.8 billion naira in oil revenue as a result of the industrial action embarked upon by the organized labor to protest the 60,000 naira minimum wage proposal of the federal government. Recent data from the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission shows that Nigeria produces over 1.2 million barrels of crude oil daily. The federal government says Nigeria is set to reduce the importation of premium Monto spirit, popularly called petrol, by about $4.4 billion annually by adopting the use of compressed natural gas. It announced this through the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, adding that the target of government is to convert 1 million diesel and petrol-powered vehicles to start running on CNG. The coordinator, regulations, compliance, and facilitation of the initiative, Zayan Atabari, disclosed this in a presentation at the co-creation session on the Nigerian Gas Vehicle Monitoring System in Abuja. An unidentified number of persons have been trapped inside a collapsed mining pit in Galadima, Kogo, in Shiroro local government area of Niger State. It was gathered that the mining pit collapsed after a torrential rain, trapping several workers digging in search of mineral resources. Ministry of Solid Minerals Development had since mobilized first responders to the scene. The federal government may have to spend about 5.4 trillion naira on fuel subsidies in a proposed economic stabilization plan document. The plan, presented by the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wole Edun, to President Bola Tinubu, aims to fast-track economic recovery, assist as many Nigerians as possible, and further mitigate the impact of the ongoing economic reforms of this administration. The plan, to be implemented within 1 to 6 months, will tackle inflation and further increase the purchasing power of the populace. Let's join Kike Lomo Okere for more business news.
The Naira has shown some form of stability against the US dollars on NAFEM window closing at 1,476 Naira to a dollar. This slight dip of 0.06% from the previous day rate of 1,476.12 kobo to a dollar shows the Naira's steady performance amid a volatile foreign exchange landscape. At the start of this week, the Naira was traded at 1,476 Naira 12 kobo to a dollar, showing a minor appreciation of 0.67% compared to earlier figure. The low range of appreciation and depreciation on Monday and Tuesday suggests some form of stability in the market. The forex turnover at the start of the week was recorded at $121.87 million, a notable decline of 42.92%. It appears that traders and financial institutions took a cautious approach on the first trading day of the week and month. This cautious approach likely resulted in lower trading volume as participants took time to evaluate market conditions before making significant moves. This crash also coincided with the onset of a nationwide strike led by labor unions, likely suggesting the impact of the industrial action on the cautious approach taken by the market participants. However, the strike has been suspended and it appears that the market activities is picking up on NAFEM window. On Tuesday, June 4, 2024, the forex turnover soared to $236.99 million, reflecting a staggering 94.46% increase. The surge in turnover indicates a significant rise in market activities, suggesting heightened demand for the US dollars and increased transaction within the foreign exchange market. The Nigerian exchange continued its bearish run this week, declining.
That's it on AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times, channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I am Anthony Momodu saying thank you for watching and see you again. All right, welcome back from the Global AM News. Now time for us to look at what the papers are saying this morning. Hopefully we'll be joined for the paper review analysis by Ocha Emmanuel, who is an activist and a lawyer. Hopefully he'll be joining us via Zoom in the coming minutes. But we've got some 4 national dailies we'll be looking at. We'll kickstart with the Vanguard and what the Vanguard is telling us this morning.
The Vanguard is saying federal government's failure to make fresh offer stalls wage talks. And still on the Vanguard, it says Edo Gerber, why some politicians are angry with Obaseki. And Kaduna Assembly, El Rufai, tango over alleged diversion of 423 billion naira. And of course, still on the Vanguard, it says Nigeria will witness positive change after sacrifice, and that's in Shatima's words. And still on the Vanguard, we have government plan 6.6 trillion naira supplementary budget to fast track economic growth. And of course, the Vanguard has some very talking points here. It says U.S. lawmakers petition Biden, say Benin's executive wrongfully detained by Nigeria. And now it says, look who's here. That's on the sporty side of like Lukman's arrival excites Eagles, sorry. And that is what we have on the Vanguard this morning.
All right, let's move on to the Daily Trust. The headlines there says Northern Senators McBan reject bill restricting headers movement is the screaming headlines there on the Daily Trust. We've got Niger mining pit collapse is the kicker there. 6 rescued, 14 still trapped. And we've got Atiku tackles Tinubu as federal government projects 5.4 trillion naira for fuel subsidy in 2024. And we've got a stomach infrastructure more crucial to Nigerians now, says Olusegun Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria. We've got other big headline stories. Court orders for feature of 11.14 billion naira property linked to MFLA. You find that on the Daily Trust. Then we've got a Kaduna Assembly indicts El Rufai and aides in alleged 423 billion naira fraud. Kaduna Assembly indicts El Rufai and aides in alleged 423 billion naira fraud. Then we've got passengers stranded as Abuja-Kaduna train derails. Those are some of the biting headlines there. We've got Northern Senators and McBan reject bill restricting headers movement, proposed law driven by emotions, says pastorist. And we've got ranching will end our clashes with headers, says farmers. And all Nigerians have right to live anywhere in the country, says Barrow. All right, those are some of the telling headlines on the Daily Trust.
And then over to the Punch now. We have some punchy news in Anthony's words. And
punchy headlines.
Punchy headlines. And of course, one of the biggest captions there is all about the minimum wage. And it says, Finance Minister submits template to Tinubu today. And of course, everyone is waiting to hear the outcome.
Let's see if they're going to surprise us and make it 200,000.
Let's see. We just have to wait and see. And it says tripartite committee awaits templates to resume negotiation 2 p.m. today, Thursday. And still on the Punch, we have Tinubu may suspend import duties on food, drugs. And it says Senate okay 60 million naira salary for CJN Supreme Court justices. And it says Heritage Bank NDIC goes after 700 billion naira loan defaulters, lists 2.3 million depositors. And still on the Punch, we have Customs intercept 3.9 billion naira pangolin scales in Kebbi. And still on the Punch, we have some very interesting punchy news here. It says $413 bribery, Ganjuje to get charges through newspaper. And it says 25 suspected killers of Oyo University students arraigned. And it says crude supply shortage, foreign investors may dump 20 modulars refineries, and that's all on the and of course, still on the Punch, it says 23 billion naira theft, El-Rufai kicks as Kaduna Assembly orders probe. And that's it on the Punch newspaper, giving us some very punchy headlines there. So go out and get your copy.
All right, let's look at this day and see what this day has in store for us in terms of big headline stories on this day newspaper. We've got Bloomberg is a kicker there. Nigeria may suspend import levies on food to ease inflation. Bloomberg is a writer there. Nigeria may suspend import levies on food to ease inflation is the big caption on this day. We've got federal government insists Binance executive complicit as 16 U.S. lawmakers accuse Nigeria of taking him hostage. A very interesting talking point for today. We've got a pro panel accuses El-Rufai of diverting 423 billion naira. Ex-governor says he served with integrity. What a response. And let's see other headline stories. We've got International Human Rights Commission chief tips Enugu as fourth UN headquarters is the headline story there. Let's look at, we've got PDP counters Atiku, Obi alliance discussions, denies major talks with any political party. Then we've got Atiku challenges Tinubu to come clean on fuel subsidy payment is the headline story. Let's look at the Binance story and talking about the U.S. saying the man is being held hostage. I think it will be laughable. It will be very discouraging. And
no, wrong, not hostage, but wrongfully detained by Nigeria.
Okay, on these papers they say hostage.
Oh, wow.
For this day. Okay. So I think it will be, I'll feel injustice if the Nigerian government decides to free him just because the U.S. made a comment.
Yes, of course, because really, like I mentioned before, when we, not in regards to the Binance case, but in any other case, okay, I can remember it was when we're talking about El-Rufai, and I said no one is above the law. It's very important that the right process is made, and if he's found wanting, if he's guilty, he should be persecuted. So how possible that someone comes into Nigeria in the guise of individuals tripling their money once they invest into a particular thing, and it's all a scam. If he can prove that it's not a scam and do the right thing, I'm sure he will be released to the necessary authorities. But we found out that the cryptocurrency was a whole sham of its own. A lot of Nigerians invested, and at the end of the day, lost to that particular investment. So the thing is, if he's detained wrongfully, then the U.S. can actually prove that beyond reasonable doubt to say, okay, fine, he's detained wrongfully. But of course, Nigerians, we have evidence to prove that he came with this cryptocurrency issue that was everywhere. A lot of people invested all their life-long income in order to get double or triple. You know how it is. It's like a double investment to give you much more than you bargained for in millions, and a lot of money went in there. So I think there's a lot of investigations that has to be ongoing.
Well, let's see. Time will tell how this pans out. But the fact that he jumped bail once, also that was a crime. And besides, the crime was against the Nigerian state, not the U.S. state.
Exactly.
So the U.S. cannot dictate to Nigeria if he went infringe on our laws or not. So time will tell as we look at the stories they're making the rounds in the newspapers this morning. And let's flip through to other interesting stories that deserve some bit of attention, looking at the issue of the bill, which the Northern Senators and McBan reject, saying the bill restricts herders' movement. I think it's unfair when certain people or certain parts of the country always feel every rule, every law, or every policy has to be to their favor. Once it's not to their favor, so it shouldn't stand.
Yes, exactly.
I think it's very wrong for the Northern.
Very wrong.
senators, McBurn specifically, to say the bill is restricting headers. It's not restricting headers. It's saying you have to graze along certain routes. They're not
Which
saying
is understandable.
they're not saying you cannot graze across the country.
Exactly.
But it has specific routes you must have to follow, and so I think they shouldn't turn it into an ethnic issue. And I think you expect, even if McBurn, which is a social cultural group, if they seem not to have a clear understanding of what the bill is or what the federal government is trying to achieve, we expect northern elders, senators who should be more enlightened, to enlighten the people and not play to the gallery based on sentiments or try to pitch the people against the federal government or other lawmakers. So that's a very disturbing occurrence we hope would be sorted out in due time. All right, so that's a very, but for you, do you think it's all about them not understanding about, okay, it's about going through certain routes and other new modern ways of grazing. Not necessarily walking everywhere, because that even drains the cows, rather than keep them in a ranch where they are well fed and not stress them all through.
But you know what, Anthony, you know, this is the graze. We've always known that this is how cows are being grazed. This is the way our forefathers did it. We're Nigerians, of course. Let's put that into, that is the practice that we know, that cows must graze in order for them to be healthy, you know, for them to move around and all of that. But I feel at the same time we should be able to understand change. Change is very important.
Because I would have asked them, why did they enter cars, the senators? Why didn't they trek around, since that was what their forefathers did?
Exactly.
And not wear clothes because their forefathers didn't wear clothes.
But the thing is, we must learn to understand. Change is the only constant thing in life. If there's a law that has been stipulated that says, do not graze in this particular aspect, maintain this status quo, this route, I think for peace to reign, we should maintain that status, that route. So we should learn to embrace change and know it's for the betterment of each and every one of us and not a particular set of people. It's very important. All right,
we hope the northern senators will do the needful and not play to the gallery or seem to want to project another point of view. All right, for El-Rufai, we're still hoping that Obasani, the current governor of Kaduna State, would have the political will to do the needful, prosecute him to the latter, so that we can see justice. The U.S. have set an example with the prosecution and conviction of Donald Trump. So can El-Rufai be the first to go down and under if he's truly guilty? All right, that's some of the very deep talking points. And with Atiku challenges Tinubu to come clean on fuel subsidy. I think not just Atiku, but majority of Nigerians.
Not majority, all Nigerians.
Yeah, would like them to come clean because just yesterday, the Minister of Finance came out to tell us 5-point-something trillion will be expended in 2024 for fuel subsidy. And we're asking, I thought the subsidy was already off board. And how come we're still paying subsidy? So it's confusing.
Going back and forth in this matter.
Yeah, so if it's going to be there, let it be there so that we can have the fuel price come down instead of paying 5.4 trillion naira for fuel subsidy in 2024 and still not have the product at our beck and call. And, you know, so it's really hurtful. All right, I think we've got our guest joining us via Zoom. We've got, let's see who's joining us. I think that's Oche Emmanuel, who is supposed to join us to help us look at what the papers are saying this way. All right, good morning, Oche Emmanuel. Nice to have you join us.
Good morning, presenter. Good morning, Nigerians. Nice to see you once more.
Good morning, Mr. Oche Emmanuel. It's great to have you on the program.
Morning,
all right,
morning.
Let's just kick to the talking points already. The U.S. have said Nigeria, one of the Binance executives, was wrongly detained or arrested in Nigeria or has been held hostage, according to the U.S. 16 lawmakers, saying that the Nigerian government has wrongly held the Binance executives hostage in the country. For you, is it on the U.S. to tell us if the Binance executives have gone foul of our laws, or they are supposed to plead with Nigeria? Just from the legal perspective, what do you think is playing out here?
Well, first, let me say that your last question, the question before the last, is very important. When you say for me, do I think it is for the U.S. Official to tell us whether the Nigerian government has wrongly arrested one of the Binance executives? I think he's trying to play the ostrich, and that's what the Americans are known for. They always pride themselves as people who are holier than thou, who can never be fallible, and so whenever you get them, they go around playing the victim. The U.S. official cannot be more Catholic than the Pope. The Binance executive that has been arrested has his rights to expression, he has the right to the court, and the government of Nigeria knows very clearly that the man that was arrested was involved directly or indirectly in a crime against our currency and against our economy. In fact, he has been described as a participe criminel. And if that were not the position, government of Nigeria wouldn't have arrested it. There are a lot of Americans doing businesses in Nigeria and all over, and the government of Nigeria have not had any reason to pick them up and arraign them for that matter. So it cannot be selective justice. Nigerian government is set to exercise her independence, territorial independence, economic independence, political independence, and whatever independence you have, because we are an entity that will exist on our own, and any national of any country who is found wanting in Nigeria will be subject to Nigerian law, depending on the kind of crime that is committed, and where there is need for them to be repatriated to their country. That will be because Nigeria is a signatory to so many charters. Now, the cleanup in our economy that have led to the exposition of the Binance transaction is one of the reasons why we saw a little decline in the value of dollar in Nigeria, and that made Naira to rise a little. And I think if we sustain that tempo, that momentum, not minding whose horse is God, Nigeria government will be able to expose more financial criminals. Unfortunately, when we talk about financial crime, people only think about the Yahoo boys and those who are swindling money within the country. There are a lot of foreigners, a lot of other nationals who are in Nigeria or who are even elsewhere trying to crumble the economy of this country. And Nigeria must not fold her hands and watch. So in my own context as a lawyer and as a social critic, I think the Nigerian government has taken a giant step, and they have not done it wrongly. There are evidence against the official that was arrested. He's been arraigned, and if he has anything, if he is found not to have involved himself in any of the crime, the court will vindicate him. Our courts are not meant to victimize anybody. They are meant to serve as the last bastion of hope for anyone at all, including foreign nationals.
Oche Emmanuel, I want to ask, let's look, we're still on this day, and it talks about the probe panel accuses El-Rufai of diverting 423 billion naira. Ex-governor says he served with integrity. Now, looking at that caption critically, do you think that El-Rufai will be brought to book if he is guilty as charged, or it's going to be one of these cases that we hear and at the long run is swept on the rug due to his being ex-governor of Kaduna State?
Thank you. You see, integrity will not vindicate him in this context. If those of them who have served in the past, including our friend Yahaya Bello.
All right, I think we have a little bit of network challenge. Mr. Oche Emmanuel, if you are still there, can you hear us? All right, we have a little bit of network hitch there.
He's going to join us because he was about to tell us about the White Lion, acclaimed White Lion.
Yes, of course, the governor of Kogi State, of course.
I didn't like the fact that you're not saying it right. The governor of your state.
Of my state.
Own it.
But I really want to know. But, you know, funny enough, this is very interesting. We hear about all of these probes that are happening when it comes to governors, and we know how, at the long run, it's like something that we can actually sit